Hello folks, Steve here. I'm on Rocinante, my 34-foot lifeboat. It's a Harding MCB034. I'm turning it into a gold mining ship. I want to take it to Nome. It's the second week of September, and I wanted to update you guys on the essential completion of the foam removal project. So I'm going to turn this around so you don't have to look at me and my soon-to-be fixed teeth. Here we go. There's the front of the boat. The foam has come out of all that area that is not white gel coat. There's a little bit of it up in the very front I have to get out yet. There's a little bit of it right here that has to come out. But otherwise, the majority of the boat is empty of foam. This space where like that foam cooler is sitting is a little shelf that is all that remains of the ceiling that used to be here. So this was the old ceiling height. I'm about there. Yeah, that's the old ceiling height. So all the space above this, which is about 26 inches, is headroom that I've added. There's also a pipe that ran down the center of this, embedded in the foam. That pipe is gone. All the foam that got chopped out had been stacked up in the front. That's now, except for one bag of it left right there. All that foam has been chucked out into a dumpster and hauled away. And I've turned my attention toward the engine back here. I'm sitting pretty close to the aft end of the boat now. The engine is here, and excellent news, great news. I'm ecstatic about this. I heard this engine run 2 days ago, and it started right up with no trouble. And so I'm extremely happy, although there is still much maintenance work that I need to do to it, just to clean it up and straighten it up. You know, old hoses that ought to be changed out because this is a 1987 engine. But the immediate task, the issue I have with this boat is when the Navy decommissioned it, I'm showing you the underside of the operator station. There's the steering wheel. That's where the pilot sits, up in this little birdhouse up here. But, excuse me, when they decommissioned this boat, they removed, I have to tread carefully here, they removed the throttle shift lever, which is that red knob now. They removed the original one. I've had to buy that replacement for it. And I knew that this engine used Morse cables, so I bought the handle. That shiny part in there is the rest of the control assembly. And I bought that. I bought the one that works with Morse cables. Those are those two red cables right there. The problem is, now I have to position this light. There we go. The problem is that this trunk, this aluminum box right here, this guy, used to be there. It used to come out of that hole right through here, and it ran straight down and through. Everything in the trunk came out of that space right there. It went down through there and in toward the engine. The problem is these Morse cables had to turn really sharply, and that pipe that was hanging in the ceiling connected to a Christmas tree that was all right in here, that connected to 4 hoses that are back here. One of them is still in front of the trunk, back in there. There's one, and the other one is in the shadow of this one. But there were 4 hoses Christmas treed off of that central trunk line, and all fed from a 3-inch supply line that ran up the center of this trunk. So all this Christmas tree, which is that guy right there, I don't know if you can see that, there it is. That device was right under here, fed from up in the trunk into the distribution, into the sprinkler circuits on the outside of the ship that were intended to keep the ship wet if it ever had to sail to safety through flaming ocean. So anyway, Morse cable, the handle they originally had, the cables came up through here and had to have curved that way and gone into that handle sideways. I've never seen a control handle that works that way, but apparently they had one, because there's no way they had this style of control handle, because these cables were wanting to turn really sharply around these hoses and then turn sharply again and dive down through the trunk. And you're not supposed to bend those control cables that tightly. So instead, I've had to cut around, along the blue tape. I use this blue tape to establish a quick and easy line that I can follow with a saw. I've had to cut a piece out of here to move the trunk from this position forward. That's about 16 inches. I've moved the trunk forward from that position to here. I'm happy to do that because I want to remove this crossbar here, and this, I want to remove these little sidewalls that are real tight to the engine because they're not structural. I'm going to move this light so you can see better. There we go. As you can see, you can start to see the front of the engine underneath. That was just a little bridge that was carrying this trunk, and the other side of it that I cut out in order to move the trunk without disconnecting everything that ran through it. The other side of that hole was this, that's the remainder of what I cut out, and the skinny T part is what the trunk was actually bolted to. There used to be 4 rectangular holes right here. Now there are 2, and the other 2, you can see the remnants of them. The other 2 are going to join the expanded engine bay, basically, because I'm planning to use this boat a lot more frequently than its in original service of Lifeboat. So I expect things like the water pump, etc., the alternator, the other water pump that you see down there now in the center of the frame, that's an accessory water pump that fed the sprinkler system. I have another use for it. I expect to use this boat more frequently than its Lifeboat service, and that's going to cause things to break. And when things break, you need to fix them, and in order to fix them, you need access. So this little crossbar bridge is going away. These sidewalls next to this hydraulic tank here are going away down to the level of, you can't see it from this side, but underneath the hoses and stuff right there are the motor mounts, and they are, I'm going to cut these sidewalls down to the level of the motor mount and extend the engine bay out to this sidewall out here. So this will be the new side of the engine bay. This emergency starter hydraulic pump will get relocated along with its reservoir tank and its pressure accumulators on the other side over there. All that gets relocated. Part of the reason for this, I need to take these sidewalls away because I want to have better access to, for example, the starter. Looks like it's going to make a maintenance demand relatively quickly in its life. So altogether, I want to open this up back here, and the first part of that is, and I need to make the engine run, and I need to install a new control handle for the throttle and shift, and install new cables that are slightly longer. And to do all of that, it started with the need to move this trunk, and that's why this trunk is now here. My immediate project is to secure this trunk at the top and at the bottom, drill new holes. I'm happy to move the trunk to this new location. I think it's a better location for the trunk anyway, because where it was bolted onto a thin little bridge with a big hollow space underneath it up there, down here, let me see if I can park this light again. There we go. Down here, where it sits there, is directly above this, which is a watertight bulkhead. I have standing water under the engine. I have to resolve that, by the way, but I do have standing water in the engine bay. And forward, there's another compartment. I'm going to turn you around and look you down. Get you some light. There is almost no water in there. So you can tell by the different water levels. You can't see that. You can tell by the different water levels that we are definitely two separate compartments here. I'm going to extend that watertight bulkhead out to this side of the step here and up to this height. And down below this grating, it's going to fill the entire area, be glassed in, one solid watertight bulkhead all the way through. So the entire engine bay behind that bulkhead will be watertight. Its own separate chamber anyway. And but getting rid of the sidewalls, getting rid of the crossovers will make it a lot easier to perform maintenance on the boat in the future. And so that is the project. That's where I'm at right now, fixing this trunk in place. And when I feel like it, I'll get around to taking out that last little bit of foam, toss it in a dumpster somewhere. But this is where we're at for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back next time. Bye.